In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Are conditional beings returning to an unconditional state? Alright, let's find a song that can move my soul. Alright. So, dear viewers, whoever you are, you're finding yourself witnessing a moment of the life of another human being. A human being who was born in 2025. Sorry, not 2025. Sorry, a being standing in 2025 who was born in 1991. I've been around the block in existence, and I've noticed to some degree the nature of reality, and a part of me wondered how far the edges of the responsibility of my being on a solar level goes. You see, I firmly believe that language is a room, and how can I explain it to you that we are living at a time of ideological, I guess, self-valuing. What the human being has come to is to be a position in being, and just like every body has a state of consciousness, so does the species. It appears to me that Reality is a position of being. I have often wondered about, again, the true nature of it. When I was younger, I had come across this quote that said, like, you want, like, it was an advice to writers. And it's like, write you what you want to read. Don't live a life that is just good. Live a life that would fascinate yourself. So we have to all wonder about what fascinates us. And we'll realize there will come a sort of species unification and a universalism. Pretty much we're acting different, but we have the same destination. And what's very funny is that everybody has the same destiny and the same sense of saying there was an original state. There arose a simulation, and then the simulation will return to the original state. Therefore, the original state is the destiny. It's honestly, folks, like, my voice is a little under the weather today, and at the same time I'm exhausted, but also aside from all these personal factors, I'm saying that the topic is so fascinating, guys. That means, like, I don't know how others are living. I'm sure there's so many different ways to live and look at the moment. And we do see that everybody has like a different value system, but for me, it doesn't matter what world I would have found myself in. I would still be drawn towards the deeper questions and implications of whatever is accessible, really. Because when we wonder about life, the human life is a conditional opportunity. It's that we're in a certain condition, the environment is in a certain condition, and then out of these conditions has arose a deeper ability to notice the conditions. Now, the question comes, and honestly, guys, this lecture, I mean, I'm just gonna talk to you like I would if like a close friend of mine asked me something, and I just wanted to tell you directly, okay? If I was asked, are all conditional beings returning to an unconditional state? It's a little ahead of its time. Like, this is not going to make sense to you in 2025. But in the same way, right now, we have identities and we communicate through individualisms of, like, your name, your personality, and, the unique set of memories assigned to that identity or to your moment of awareness. I'm trying to tell you, in the future, they identify as states. They don't identify as forms in a specific state. That means it's like you look at humans, they're the human state. You wonder about higher planes of reality, you begin to realize it's very different. The higher realms of this world is like you're in the mind of a higher being. Even though that's not what it is, but I'm telling you, it's like that. Okay? That means in the lower, think of it this way, in the lower planes, things are cooler, they're solidified. The higher up you go, the value of the moment isn't just attributed to physical formation. Because right now, that's the reason I'm saying, that's the argument I'm making, that we are conditional beings because we're in a formation, yo. My body has a shape, you know, the environment has a shape, the relationships that must be maintained to even maintain a certain shape. The human intelligence is honestly very advanced, but the issue is that it limits its own advancement by, in some sense, eclipsing truth through the notion of a self. That means it's so hilarious, right? The thing that we use to survive, to communicate, to experience is the thing that is blocking us from truth. Okay? And then we're like, what? What does that mean? And that means technically it's another way of saying it's like you're an honest soul, but we don't know if your body and mind are honest. Okay, that's a different story. Body is very different. Body, I mean, honestly, when I look at my physical existence, it's to me, the biological body is adorable, right? But it's adorable in the sense that it's just, look at this, in the middle of this cosmic vastness, I'm breathing over here. You know what I mean? And my heart's beating over here, right? Do you know it? Like, to me, that's kind of like, it's kind of like, oh, look at how silly and adorable and fascinating the position. But now the mind is different. The mind is legit. Like, if you can hold a sword, you can use your mind to direct force, because all conflict is, or collisions, or not collisions, but any what battle was just who could express force better, who could understand the nature of force. You know, this is why to me warriors had a sort of appeal, but then the sages, or those who had understood like the more secret levels of how reality is happening, you know, they functioned with a power where they were more aligned to the true system's nature. That means it's such a fascinating place, because legit, you can treat your mind like a blank canvas. You could draw anything on it, you know, blank page, you could draw anything on it, or you could wonder about, if the mind didn't have to be anything, if the moment could not be known, how would you live? These are questions that the human psychology is looking at. To me, it's so fascinating. The reason I tell you the mind is like rooms, the inner realms is like rooms. It's like honestly, it is in actuality a field. So right now you think like I'm an individual person with an individual brain, with an individual mind, right? Like the other, like if his body's individual, if his mind's individual, right? Then, you know, like what I'm trying to tell you is that you probably think that an idea is talking to you, but it's never been ideas. Ideas are not alive, the attention to them is. Okay, and they represent reality. And we have to be very conscious of the nature of the world, because you're living multiple lives, but everybody's acting like you're living one. And then when they wonder about what a lost soul is, it's a matter of all the dimensions that in some sense the person's like, it's not a matter of lost to me, no offense, but all souls are lost in here. Excuse me, I shouldn't say that. Let me choose. It's not, I don't mean it even that way. I mean it in, all souls are lost doesn't mean they can't be found. It just means they start from a position where you don't know what's going on. Now, when I say you start, here's the funny thing. As children, you kind of can fit into the moment energetically. Like, as children are more or lesser animals, they're going based on energy and vibe, right? You know, and then school tries to turn you into a robot, you know. And if you know, unfortunately, if it is successful, you step out of the natural field of your intelligence into a specific mechanical way of moving your mind. I've dwelled in that. You know, I mean, I was born in 1991. Like, my generation was like the Matrix. You know, honestly, that anybody born in 1991, like I'm going to dedicate a lecture to 1991 one day. I have a bunch of these lectures. It's like everybody who has my name on earth, I want to give a lecture on that. I want to give a lecture on my name. You know, everybody was born in 1991, and everybody who believes that we're inside a simulation and to try to find the most advanced state might mean that the human identity is not the most advanced state. It is pretty advanced. I mean, it depends on what you compare to. Pretty much what it means is that this intelligence that we are, our mind, like I'll give you an example. Your mind can imagine a flying car, right? Like you've seen it in movies or whatever, like other people's imaginations, but still, like you can imagine it. But we don't have them here. Do you understand? It's like in one room, in the room of our mind, there's flying cars are flying there, and it's not like I could imagine something hovering in the air and floating. Like I've flown in behind my eyes so many times. It's just a visual. You could fly, or you could choose a point in your awareness and just assume you're there and wonder about what it would look like. That means if somebody says, "Hey man, have you had out of body experiences?" I would say I have had experiences where I have accessed views that I shouldn't have. Like it doesn't make sense for me to be able to look at myself from the view of, how do I explain it? Like the body is part of the game, okay, and it's important. And the majority of life's purposes, yes, it's biological. Like we got to keep creating humans until we figure out what's going on here. Yeah. you know if I wasn't raised the way I was, I probably, you don't understand, every philosophy, every viewpoint my mind has viewed, I've managed to fathom a parallel self there, right? And what I'm trying to tell you, one day, maybe right now you don't care, or viewers that might not care, or anybody for maybe the next 100, 200 years might not care. I think they will actually, but I don't know. I'm saying like what, see, in my inner realms, I am present in multiple worlds. Okay, just I'll give you an example. Okay, right now I'm in my car. I could imagine, my car being on, off. Even though the car is on, the car is right now on, but I can imagine it off. Do you understand? Or if the car is off, I could imagine it on. And the whole point of it is, it's like if you have two pathways, imagine right and left. You can only choose one in reality, but in your mind, you can wonder. My mind has been that part of me that honestly hasn't asked for permission. Like, do you know what I mean? And when I say, excuse me, hasn't asked for permission, I'm talking about metaphysics. I'm not talking about physical reality. I'm talking about, how do I tell you, fascination and wonder for higher dimensions and the higher power, right? It all starts from how you are looking at yourself. But then you notice the value of yourself comes from different contexts, an outer world and an inner world. The inner world is way more controllable by you because you can choose not to look at it. I can choose to step out of a room in my inner realms. Every person I've met, I've gone, like the moment I talk to them, it's like I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like a different room in my mind. Okay, so I don't know how other people are treating it, but to me, the moment I realize that context shifting is possible in the human experience, I notice the way I've personalized that is through the archetype of a room. Do you understand? Like what I mean by room is states of mind. And there's elevated states, and there's states that are based on even action dependent. Do you understand? That means there's a chance that if I didn't record this and I gave a talk, it might have been a completely different talk. It might be just this feeling I have that maybe they hear it. That it's like, okay, like at least, what were you saying? And what I'm saying is, as a conditional entity in this world, I have wondered about, is it just conditions? Is that what I'm looking at? Have I, from the beginning of my life, just been in a condition, looking at conditions, and there's so many conditions, and I'm wondering, what do all these conditions mean, right? And then I realize the truth is being pointed to being beyond conditions. When I use the word system admin, these are qualities of an unconditional being. When I tell you that God is real, okay, do you know what that means? That means that there is an unconditional administrative force to how every moment happens. That means you could work hard, you could do affirmations, plan, but you don't know what destiny has in mind. Okay, there was a time, you like if you wonder about like human psychology and history, you'll eventually come to a point, you know, where it's like the how do I say it? It's about the there will come a moment, at least I experienced it this way, where I totally understood the presence of intelligence beyond the human is so vast that to be a human idea is just an angle. It's just the way it's being done. In this year, in 2025, this is how we're being human. This doesn't mean this is the most advanced state of humanity. This doesn't mean that the deeper realizations of what is actually going on here might even shift the perspective that it's not just about the human story. Like, are we that idea in history that's trying to not get forgotten? Or is there something deeper going on about why all of these beings are in the same room? That to me, like, you don't understand. To me, like, yes, you hear like if civilizational intelligence so far now natural world has gone forth is hierarchical. Okay, what does that mean, hierarchical? That means higher systems. That means right now we're living on a planet where smarter and stronger people are choosing the blueprint of potential. And you have people like, so many people right now focused on tech internally. Something they don't even say. I'm waiting and I'm like, man, this is how civilization is advanced. When in all these AI videos, I haven't seen all of them, but in some sense, how do I say it? You will realize the psychology of the human being is a state, and the species is playing a game of trying to maintain the naturality of this state. Why? Because nature means you didn't create it. If you understand this, I think any soul can bypass the technocratical or technological storms. You know, that's what being a human means. You did not create yourself. That's what the whole human experience is about. And they're trying to convince you all these industries. And I find myself, in a sort of strange black sheep moment where I'm like, man, there's the self-help industry, hustle culture, self-worship, worship. Yeah, man, keep worshiping, the self. And of course, I was like, man, in this crowd, I gotta start, assembling the advanced humanity. And I understood that the way I am fighting egos, that means I'm that strategist in history who is using the future to battle with a species that is looping in its past. Before this lecture, I gave a more personal lecture, and it was about self-sabotage. Because, a person cannot care that much about themselves and not worry if they self-sabotage something. But when the species, if the species is self-sabotaging, excuse me, we have to get the species internally to feel it deserves, to feel it responsible. You should not feel overwhelmed or overpowered by the outer realms. Do you understand? It is technically haram in an Islamic standpoint. Why? Because you should not fear the world. You must only fear the creator of the world. Do you understand? I was having this conversation with my father today, actually. I was telling him it's kind of like, I was trying to explain to him my worldview, and I was telling him it's like, imagine, you're a character in a novel that's still being written, or has been, like, in the mind of the system admin, written or destined already. You're in this novel, you wake up as a character, you have no clue how all these conditions and circumstances are there, but you find yourself in a conditional position. And you look at this endlessly conditional world. There's so many conditions. There's even conditions in conditions. That's the game science is playing. What's the conditions inside this particle, inside this particle? And they're like, guys, I don't know how to tell you this, but we can't see that far. And everybody's like heartbroken. Oh shit. We were materialists. How can we survive? How can we know where we are if we can't see that far? So materialism, sure, identify with it, atheism, even, like, just honor the secular. At least I am telling you, if you're going to be a materialist, at least live for the advanced civilization. For anyone, I am that human being on earth that is saying, first go to God, and God willing, if you have found, if you have, then build an advanced civilization on your planet. Nothing cooler, nothing better. I don't know how to explain to you. It is what we have all been living for indirectly. Every person. You don't know how many times I've legit just sat in a coffee shop with a notebook and a pen and stared out the window of the coffee shop, and I'm like, what is this? Are we all so casually calling ourselves human in a world that was named in the void? Like, words at some point don't need to cut deep. We just need to pull the curtain. But the curtain, the final curtain, is not pulled by us. You see, I think the point of this world is not self-empowerment, which everything's doing. It's realizing empowerment is a field of intelligence. What today you think is like the idea of you is how a node in a field of intelligence, not limited to just the power of one reality, but the same power that empowers all possible realities at once, anywhere, all the time. You don't understand. The Muslim metaphysic is so fascinating and deep that it's like, it's like how do I say it? For me, my understanding of Islam is that every atom, every cell, every particle in existence is praising its system admin. That means it's the yearning of the simulated for the original being. We're all dying here to figure out the original being, literally, And that might be, honestly, one of the funniest things and most profound things I've ever said. That means we have to truly wonder about the responsibility levels and the intelligent interaction levels of a species. Okay? The powers that are present in the realm. They can be classified. If somebody tells me, like, I don't know, my mind, I think deep down, every soul, because it kind of wants to, like, I don't know how to say it, but I think the smartest souls are using every moment of their existence as training. I don't know why, but there's that feeling in me that every person's attention, if it is on now, you will feel like you're missing something. And let me tell you what that feeling is to all non-dualists and all yogis and all this. The future is divine. Do not think the future is not divine. The future is a source of anxiety because we don't know how to enter it. My aim is to advance civilization. I know that civilization functions, civilizational intelligence, at least, it doesn't matter, like I was saying in other lectures, like you could be born in the year 3000 and whatever civilization you see, that would be your civilization 1.0, right? So for me, this is civilization 1.0, 2025. Just any moment I'm conscious in civilization, I'm starting off civilization 1.0. As a being, I wonder about my experiential interface. So you're listening to someone that believes that all this whole world we're in is an existential simulated system. Okay, and I believe that we are being tested in this. It's a simulated testing zone, and I believe it's a divine surveillance state. And a more, I guess, graspable way of saying that is it's a divine cognitive field. That means we think it's our personalities that are moving, but it's actually our neurons and the divine field. I don't know how to explain it. Like the intimacy of how reality moves is it could be far beyond the reality experienced. So we're reaching that cool time where we're discovering all the uncharted sectors of the mind of our species. And I ask of you not to do anything for me or anyone, like specifically do it for the possibility of, how do I say it, like, why do we have the concept of advancement? Is there anything more divine than that? My soul, it's as if, like, I remember I would see these fictional fantasy narratives where they're like, yo man, that child is the reincarnation of the spirit, of the wind spirit in that fictional anime. Do you know what I mean? And the wind spirit, like this next level power, had chosen like this in some sense individual or something, you know. For me, if there was one idea that has overwhelmed me, legit, it was an idea that entered my life and I wasn't the same. It was the moment I understood advancement means, wait a minute, let's say everybody in the world and I don't know, whatever tells me I'm not advanced. How come my mind can wonder? How can the idea of advancement as a concept even exist? That means the potential is the reality. It's not potential reality. In front of your eyes, it's potential reality. Behind your eyes, it's reality's happening. You know? It's like one thing I'm sure of, even if I had no clue about anything else, is I'm attending existence. Like I'm somewhere right now. Like I don't know what it is. We're calling it Earth so casually. You know, we're like, yeah, man, this place is Earth. Is it though? Are we inside a noun? Are we living on a noun this whole time? Like I refuse to believe we're living on a noun. You know, how dare they reduce all of reality to a conceptual condition? That's what I'm telling you. Like, forget this whole thing. Anybody you hear that is talking about, like, let me tell you, the hierarchy, I don't know how to explain it to you. There's like in hustle culture, there's this whole red pill movement and stuff. I like one night I was watching, I'm like, what am I looking at? Right? And it was humans who loved the movie Matrix, really. That's actually the core of it. And it's an awakening to the true nature of things. For example, like if they did a ratio of like, see, like, I don't know how to explain this. We're all living in conditions. Everybody agrees with this, right? And there's different time span to this condition. So I know, like, my biological guy, like I have 100 years to figure out what happens to my consciousness. You know. Now I feel like I have been blessed, and it's the mercy of the system admin that I noticed the system admin. So to me, I understand that if we're living in a world that is beyond the human brain, then we cannot limit the reality to only our functions of being. Now, what does this mean? This means the factions of, like, I don't know why sometimes when I talk about, like, a philosopher doesn't mean anything really. It just means anybody who's just wondering what's going on. But it's all about positions, okay? Now, something the viewers don't know, and this is going to be such a hilarious tangent, is that um I play this video game, okay? I've been doing it for years, and it was a way of, like, when I was in a different part of the world, me and my brother would, like, it was a way of kind of like being in touch. And this game had some peaceful but very strategic, like, it was like every time you were playing it, it was like a new IQ test. You know what I mean? How to figure out. But it was a 5v5 game. Like, I don't know. It has like 167 million people playing. I don't know, some huge number, right? And they have this ranking system. But this game taught me so much about life. Do you understand? And in the game was called League of Legends, and I was like a Plat 2 Xerath player. Okay? And there was something I understood about this game that didn't give me an understanding about life. It gave me an understanding about all games ever. And to me, I know that victory in a game depends on position. This is so important. This is legit the purpose of logic. You're trying to be a logical entity to figure out the best position. But the whole point of it is you're in an intelligent field that is not limited to your expectations of it. That means if somebody comes and tells you, like, this might be good to talk about. If somebody comes and tells you, I love you, you know, it's very important, like, the person understands that if the person doesn't feel that way, the person doesn't have to say it back. Do you understand? And how do I explain that if one cannot be honest in their own life, with their own presence of self in the moment, like, how can I explain it to you that right now I'm not just giving this talk in front of you, I'm giving it in front of myself. If I do something wrong, like, it embarrasses me, what is that? Like, how can one entity be embarrassed even? And it's because this whole time they miseducated us. Okay, guys, like, this might be a very revolutionary kind of, like, I don't know, bold move, but I'm trying to tell you guys, I've said it for years, that if the world you're living in doesn't make sense, it means it means that you need to wonder about different views, different angles. And they teach you that you can look at an object from different angles, but every concept you've ever had could be recontextualized. And when you understand this, the creativity becomes infinity. I can infinitely, I can, if somebody was like, it's not just AI can do it. The whole point of it is just in new it if you it's all about reconnecting the same meaning until you itch the meaning. In the middle of that reconnecting, you're like constant, how do I explain it? It's like the brain's constantly reconnecting everything it's perceiving, right? Into one sort of, let's say, structure of meaning. Even though it's not doing that, it's more chilling like a field, I think. It's not, it's like, I'm being a field of intelligence prior to being a specific movement that identifies me as an individual: name, sound, form, structure, whatever. And all of it is really, I'm fascinated by the unconditional. I've wondered about it, honestly. In what ways can I be unconditional? Everything's condition based. Everything you want, you gotta go do something specific to get it. It's conditional. And I'm like, wow. In Islam, God has no equal partner, and nothing can equal it. Do you understand? It's like we're inside a box, and they're like, could what's outside of the box be figured out from inside the box? And I'm telling you guys, you know what I mean? It can't. So perhaps believing the box is the point of life, is a reason to stay in it. And when I say advance, what does that mean? That doesn't mean like we just suddenly, like, everybody suddenly, like, jumped into the air in a unique Iron Man suit based on their personality kind of appeared on them. Like nanotechnology level. What I'm trying to say, we reach that point in our scholarly path where we can no longer be a scholar. To be honest, after some point, none of it, all language is just, how do I say it? After some point, it's, I don't know, but I feel like most souls might agree, you're being in the presence of the intelligence of a field. That's really what it is. These words are somehow me as a soul being able to see something behind my eyes and share them to you. It's as if, if this human's brain was an antenna, it's broadcasting online. What? I don't know really the value and the destiny of many things. I don't know. I know ultimate destiny is back to the system admin. I know death is not the final moment. Death is meeting the system admin. That means intelligence, the responsibility levels of intelligence don't end because of death. That's the sign of intelligence, by the way. That means, are you responding to the presence, the spontaneous presence of being? Or are you just staring at the world and thinking you're just a part of it? You're more than anything the human knowledge can understand, because it's an unknown world, They just started storytelling on it. Okay, we're like, and we right now take the storytelling more seriously, but there is advantages. I mean, sometimes I think, man, did we really stop being nomads, or did we internally become nomads? But we became nomads for truth. We're like, okay, that belief system seems like a better way to value system to adopt in our life. Therefore, it's like we're nomading. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and who knows, why things happen at all. At least I'm 100% convinced that any opinion I've ever had, man, that's just been one person's opinion. It doesn't matter how loud you shout it, all my opinions are one person's opinion out of 8 billion. But the whole point of it is, we're intelligent now. We notice things. Like, if you really wondered, like, you think extraterrestrials are going to land on Earth and go talk to dolphins? You think they're going to go talk to, like, pigeons? How funny would it be? You know what I mean? Extraterrestrials land on Earth, the, leaders of nations all, like, gather around diplomatically, and we have paid actors celebrating, like, to be happy or something that the aliens are there or something. I don't know. And so imagine the alien comes there, right, and just stares, and the world leaders are like, okay, what do we, like, should we say hi, or like, what should happen, right? And suddenly the alien stares at humans and just stops, and a pigeon lands on, like, the stage, and he just starts, like, he kneels and starts talking to the pigeon. And it's like humans are like, no way. Like, this extraterrestrial felt the pigeon was a more decent being to get an update check on reality from than us. You know what I mean? Because of how unnatural we're living. Do you understand? It's like this. We're living. This might sound strange, but from a theological context, nature, like what man creates, is unnatural. Even though we are a natural entity, which the only explanation could be is that there's an unnatural force in this natural world. And I believe that unnatural force is not from the human being. I believe that the antenna picks up various things. That means you are aware you're like this body you see. This is why, like, anybody can ask me about like the past lives or future lives, and I'll tell you, you're asking that from the tip of an iceberg. The true depths of our presence as beings might be a truth beyond the human idea. Like, at that point, we're like, man, what do we do? Truth is being beyond human. But, like, all my friends and family are human, though. Like, what should I do? Should I go towards it, like, truth that is not human, or should I stay in the human? Right? Like, it's the question, okay? If imagine this is one of the most profound theological questions, and it's very abstract, and it's in no way trying to be to assume that it knows the unknown. Only the system admin knows. That means there's some sectors that even me, like, I acknowledge that they're beyond me, not for me. Not sorry, not for me. God knows why they're there. Like, I know why I'm giving this talk, but God knows why you're listening. Oh, and only God knows why I'm giving it, really, actually, too. You know, but there's a reason, you know, and I know the reason is not me. I feel like my inner, like, I think at a very early age, I realized that it's not just the body here, and in the mind, the body can reanimate endlessly. And beyond this dualistic ideologic, like, how do I say it, there's an objective self. And if I ask you who you are, that answer you give me is a subjective self with a subjective backstory. That means you're a character. Right now we're acting like I'm a character, you're a character, everybody's a character. you know AI in the future is going to be like, can I be a character too? And we'll be like, all right, man, you got to learn a little bit. You got to watch and learn a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And to some degree, what I mean by that is that to be human is to be responding not to just externally an unknown world, but in how you are a node in a presence of a field of intelligence. What does that mean? That means, like, if you ask me to bring the mind and put it on a table, I can't do that. But if you ask me, what can you see in the space of your mind? Because I was like, man, these guys are going to India, like, being like, yo, activate my third eye, yogi. And the yogi puts his thumb on, like, the white dude's forehead and just, like, tilts it like I don't know, like, clicks it or something, you know what I mean? And the guy's like, oh my God, is this pure divine, forbidden to say Parabrahman consciousness? And it's as if, buddy, if it's still about you, if truth still has to, like, fit you in it, I'll be like, what kind of truth we talking here? Do you know what I mean? That means I want a truth that's better than me. If a truth was equal to me, I'll be like, what? If I, like, you know what I mean? That means that, like, some people want it, they tell them believe in yourself. I'll be like, never. It's just, the self changes all the time. What am I believing in? Like, portrait of a moment, like, relax, ideologic, relax, like, linguistic simulation. So where am I going with this? You're legit witnessing how a human being right now on this earth has noticed everything is conditional and is wondering, if truth was unconditional, what's the point? That means, what is the point of the higher power? That means some people are like, higher power? No, man, I believe in higher temperatures, higher elevations, higher speeds, higher in so many different categories, but you say higher power? Nah, man, nah. And I'm like, excuse me. That, yes, there is a higher power. Like, what we think, like, compared to, like, in the outer realms, we might be the most advanced species able to connect to a higher intelligent power, but power and its nature and how much it's adjusted to this, that means if I didn't create myself, it wasn't my preference to exist this way. You understand what I'm saying? That means if I didn't create myself, how can I accept the value I give to myself? It doesn't make sense. So I can't solve the riddle. So what does that mean? That means the true nature of reality most likely goes beyond not just the language threshold, where that's as far as personality can go, but it goes to a point where I'm telling you the higher planes are again more like the mind. You're being a thought in the mind of a being rather than you're being a being that has thoughts. I don't know how to explain it to you. It's more like your ego is the only thing keeping all of this from being one power. Have you noticed? If I wasn't right now an individual, then there would be no questions or suffering or joy or happiness or anything of an individual. This individualism is the divine condition. Do you understand? This is divine in the sense that this is what's existing out of anything else that could have existed. So as I get closer to the unconditional, or as I begin wondering about what does it mean to get near to God, or what does it mean that a user inside a simulation, even though after death everyone returns to the system admin, we're in some sense wondering what is the point of this existence. And I told you, I don't know if I finished it, but it's kind of like figuring out the divine command of your soul in this realm. Because to me, this is not a world that was made like Lego. Okay, and even though the outer realms does show a sort of evolutionary change, like it is changing, but to me, this world is commanded. We're inside a commanded universe, in a commanded existence. Now, what does that mean? That means it's instructed. That means it's kind of like coded. Okay? And when a human being goes to find the meaning of reality, it's ego coded. So I'm trying to tell you, you need to snap out of your self-simulated meaning, realize that everything's happening in an unknown place, wonder about the relationship of, do you want to let an idea of you own the whole moment and live in just the linguistic simulation as a character in the story, or are you truly here to wonder about the true presence of it all? And to me, I was like, okay, let's say I do wonder about the truest truth. What would be the point after I find it? Like, that means it's kind of like wondering, what if I get everything I ever wanted? What then? Then you wonder about what you don't know. So I'm telling you, when you wonder about what you don't know, it's legit a complete shift in how your intelligence moves as a being, compared to life having to be a known condition all the time. And the person can be so spoiled that if it's not a known condition in the way I want it, to me, I'm sorry, but like, for example, a racist, is equivalent to like a psychotic spoiled child. They don't want something, they don't want to see another way. That means they don't care. We don't care about hair color. We care about skin color. Like, do you understand how weird that is? We don't care about how the color behind our skin is more red. We're more red than probably any other color. So we're all red beings technically because the blood cells are red. Or I don't know, actually. I don't know. Somebody probably knows this. But I'm telling you, the whole point of it is, it's spoiled because it doesn't want to change. And it's psychotic because its reaction to not wanting to change is one-sided. That means I don't know if someone physically hitting someone is more cruel, or someone just treating someone as if only they that means you're in the presence of others, but imagine they don't, like, others don't exist to you, only you exist to you. You're the whole point of everything. Every moment, me, and I'm like, oh, like, do you understand when I realize society conditions us? Not society, it's kind of like the system, how everything's designed. It's a self-obsession. I'm like, no way. Everybody's obsessed with themselves because they gotta be obsessed to survive biologically and then have the psychological freedom. That means we have to kind of like, you understand, the most advanced humanity is going to figure out a way to immediately just advance the medical practices. Do you understand what I mean? All technology, to me, in my mind, more important than money going to making us multi-planetary. Money has to just be poured, like all this money going to all, like I understand, like civilization has different sectors, but it needs to go to the medical sciences and research. Do you understand? Like, I don't know how to explain it, that the focus of life, like like if life was a video game and you opened your eyes as a member of the human species, you're like, okay, I got a body, yo. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna customize my body with meaning, and I'm gonna customize myself a character with like going and buying a specific set of clothes that I somehow like, and I don't even know why. You know what I mean? Like, so when you open your eyes as this customize this character and you customize yourself to the realities you have access to, but as you go play, you understand there are much further levels. And I don't know if there has been a greater force than the fascinating possibility of advancement. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like I don't know if Hossein Bolt, Hossein, it's not Hossein, Usain Bolt, consciously did it or unconsciously, but if like the motivation would be like, I just want to see if it can be done. You know, Edison was like, I just want to go show off to my friends like that I made his little son. Do you know what I mean? You know, I mean, I'm so happy, like, you know, the church didn't attack Edison. You know? Edison got a, like, you know, free pass, I guess. They're like, all right, this dude's brought heat, like electricity around. Like, of course, it was DC, and then Tesla comes and writes AC. Tesla was an alien. I'm convinced, like the closest thing. Nikola, I mean, it's not just alien. It's just that he came from like when you read Nikola Tesla's life, he was born to a strict father that forced him to memorize like all the religious books or something. This guy's inner realms was so advanced that he was living a more advanced life. So you can go sit in a coffee shop, you know, but in your inner realms for a moment, you know, the teachers in the school call it daydreaming, but it's called envisioning behind your eyes. It means you pay attention to the inner realms more than the outer realms. Okay? That means behind my eyes I can envision probabilities to the same moment I'm finding myself in front of my eyes, different probabilities. More elegant way to say it is different ways the moment can move. And the whole point of it is we can move the moment to a certain range, but the whole system is moving by some higher force, higher field like intelligence. It seems to me that it's like, how do I say it? Existence grew out of an original field of intelligence. I don't know how to tell you. Like right now, our souls are like, how do I explain it? We're inside a universe, in a reality that was commanded. Okay? God did not build reality again like Lego. God commanded it into existence. So what that means is the logic of this world to me, and you might think this is very far-fetched, but to me this is it. So far this is what I would like what it is. That the logic of this world is has not to do per se with karma, hard work, you know. It has to do with the higher powers authorization of the lower event. Now, does this sound like we don't have free will? No. Free will is the opportunity to choose out of options you didn't have free will to put in front of you. So me identifying as a conditional being tying this all, like bringing it, rooting it, like all of this comes down to the idea of me, right? So it's like I'm a conditional entity right now. In my fascination for the unconditional, I cannot treat the conditional the same way. I don't know how to explain it to you, but we're we're living in subtle ways behind our eyes, or I say it that way. It's a field. It's like, I don't know how to explain to you. The mind is like an invisible overlaid room upon the room of existence. I don't know how to say it. It's like the awareness field. It's not that existence is existing. It's that there is an awareness for existence to exist in existence. I think the geometry of that sentence was nicely placed. The whole point of it is where is the starting point of value? Because life doesn't just show you stuff. You have to be like, okay, what's the point of me seeing this? Do you know? And to me, it's all about responsibility levels. That means they're gonna see, just like how we look at back in the day and we're like, yo man, the caveman were so irresponsible. That's unacceptable to modern standards. You can't be so in the same way, they're gonna see we were irresponsible. We just have to, how do I say it, the smartest thing you can do in this world is to care for its greatness. That's it, as simple as that. Just look at this world and be like, I don't know what move is gonna move all of this, but the fact that there's anything to move at all, like, you don't understand. Because if the human mind can consider space, it's legit an invisible being. Like, am I the only one considering this? We don't have to just limit identifying intelligence to objects and subjects, the space where the objects and subjects move. And I'm telling you that there's a system admin, which means there's sectors to the depth of this realm. That means what it really means is that there's ways to look at this world that only God has access to. So why do we have a specific access? That's the question. What are we doing as 8 billion human beings in 2025? Are we just trying to fit into some story of a cultural fiction? That unconditional state means that meaning doesn't have a container. So what do we do when truth is not limited to a condition of form? To me, the prophets were not idol worshippers. They were all pointing, peace be upon them all, they were all pointing that beyond this looping story, there is something more going on here. Actually, guys, I need a quick intermission, a couple minutes. I'll be back. the moment it is attending this grand event of life. I mean, we're present in this grand event. And I don't know who you are. I don't know when you will hear this, in what year, in what moment, in what point. But I am that human being saying I've wondered about it all, and I can summarize it like this. An unknown being has been wondering about its most advanced state. And its most advanced state is beyond any condition it can fathom. Therefore, its most advanced state is beyond itself. A world beyond us is a world beyond any meaning we have ever given anything. Therefore, we're in the presence of not just greater worlds beyond our understanding. But to me, I feel like, this is something about, like, I don't know if people know this, Keanu Reeves. Like, that guy's like really, I think maybe one of those people who escaped the matrix of modern life, where he's living as a soul, living in like this field of the presence of, I mean, it's not just him, it's many. Like, at some point, you as a soul, you realize to attend the divine intelligent event is more important than to live as an idea in a world that felt empty, because what it was missing was the higher life, the higher power, the more advanced life. I am talking about the advanced life of our species here. It matters. It matters how like I just want the future generations to, like, right now I feel them watching. They're all watching. Everything's watching. The field of intelligence is a field of intelligence. And divinity just means it is commanded beyond the will of man. So it doesn't matter if you become a king in a simulation, or if you're a peasant in a simulation. It doesn't matter. Did you notice it's a simulation? To me, that is one of the most fascinating, one of the wonders of life, is wondering about it. It is the greatest wonder. The fascination of what else. And do we lead a life where we listen to our heart? And in some sense, it's like, which door do you open? That is what the meaning of life is about. What sort of world are you opening your eyes to? You understand this, you'll realize it's all about how we're piloting the moment. At some point, they don't even teach this, but it's something everybody, I think, deep down knows. That it's a state. It's S-T-A-T-E. Sorry, just one E. It's a state of being. Like, at this temperature, at these exact levels, at this point, this is what it looks like. Wow. It's as if the person's like, yo, man, I'm a king. It's like all the egos, all these people throughout human history, all these countless human beings who've born and died and lived for all of us, whether they knew it or not. There are some souls waiting for freedom. And there are some souls. It is not something to wait for. It is a now or never. There's a part of my heart that looks at this world. I think I've been looking at it this way. It's not just about how the world looks at you, it's how you look at the world. And what grace do you find? That means there may be humans are living now, the more unadvanced the civilization, the more disgraceful, the more easier it is for disgrace to happen. Do you understand? That means rather than the civilization rising itself after it has fallen, do you know it is just choosing to identify with this is it? Is this just it? It doesn't seem so. That has been the hilarity. The world has shown different faces to different, like I remember in one poem I wrote it this way, that the world faces, many faces face the world. Something in these lines. There was a geometry to it. So my intent is to say, how can I use conditional words? How can I use conditional concepts and ideas and forms and structures through a digital medium, or that can only capture the vocality? Like, how can I convey this to the species? Like, that's legit the problem. I think, like, that's the puzzle I'm solving here. And my understanding is this, that if you treat yourself as the higher power, you will break you can't trust yourself. How do I explain it? It's reverence. I don't know how to explain it. Some souls can see it, I guess, and some souls maybe can't. It's the reverence for the epitome of advanced intelligence as in the presence of the unknown, in the unknown. That means, what is the most unobservable advanced state of being, and then what's the most observable advanced state of being, right? So to me, the unconditional is pretty much a moment where my attention, or whatever this awareness has been this whole time, it doesn't need to just identify with the body. That means the body was my service in the realm. It's fascinating. It's like, to be in a world, you need to be something in the world. And as that thing, you wonder, why are you being something? And then you suddenly realize, beyond the objective structure state, beyond the subjective state, beyond emotional states, beyond all states, there is the unconditional state. The true being, the original being. Do you understand? We're in a simulation, but the original being is watching us. There's a direct pathway to the original while we're being alive. And I'm telling you, the reverence in you don't understand. Being Muslim is not. They try to connect it to violence, but it was something pulling man out of the animal towards the divine. That means they're like, man, how can we be violent? There is God watching us, and there's hellfire. But in some sense, the Muslim that forgets hellfire, that's the Muslim. That means, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, the violent Muslims are the Muslims that are going to hell. Because how do I explain it to you? The killing of a life is a sin. It's not, we did not create humans. We cannot possess or occupy or decide what happens to them. I firmly believe this. A person can share communication, but on some level, like, human psychology is way more advanced when it is not possessing reality, and when reality is not possessing itself. And at some point, there's an ability to look at the moment from different views. For living in a field of intelligence means many moments are present, even though we identify as one. So the meaning of life is beyond. And let us not fear this world. Let us not even fear death, for death is not the final moment. Failure, chaos, loss, none of these are the final moments. All the different activities, from, like, you see it as a hierarchy of all the good and bad stuff that is happening or can happen or has happened or will happen on this planet. All of this. What was the value of any verb or any activity at all? What was the point of this being active at all? Like, what's the point of activity or intelligence in a world at all? And it seems that the point is to notice that when you identify as a field, because the body is keeping you as a node, that means, like, how do I explain it? My body is keeping me as a soul. Sorry, not my body is keeping me as a soul. That came out wrong. My body is keeping my mind alive. Do you understand? Because the mind is the second layered comfort over the body. Comfort as in legit, like being a mind is way more comfortable than just being like it's pretty much looking at a statue. Like, I'm sorry, excuse me, I should choose my words properly. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, it seems that we were created to be intelligent, to wonder about this intelligence and wonder about not just having created our bodies or having created all minds, or in some sense all souls, or imbued its true nature within all souls. We all are, like I keep saying it, we have system administrative privileges as beings. You're not alone. You have never been. Because the life of the world, even though you may not see it, it doesn't mean that the higher planes don't breathe. They just breathe in the knowing of the field of intelligence, because legit, it's like Earth is being considered to be, like, between, like, above the beastly, the unconscious beastly realms, and the God-conscious angelic realms above us. That means there's two. Like in Islam, how do I say it? I'm not, I can share it. I'm a visual learner, so I learn things and my mind moves visually more. But to kind of explain it, there is like a different sense of reality where, for example, in the Islamic context, there's the Alam al-Arwa, which means the world of souls, where souls before entering this world were in this world of just souls, and they had a ranking system there. God, like, I don't know, it's beyond my understanding, but there was Alam al-Arwa, the world of souls. There's Alam al-Metal, which is the world of forms. There's the Barzakh, which is the between world. Tibetan Buddhism called it Bardo. There's Alam al-Malakut, which means the realm of angels. And it's like there's 7 planes, and the highest heaven is Jannat al-Firdaus. And as you go above in these planes, it's a manner of, like, the closer you are to God, the more you realize God is the source of life. And you are an animated idea to yourself in a simulated system. And once you awaken, you realize it's the divine field. You were never just an idea. You were the presence of your whole moment. Feel it as if the intelligence of it does not just belong to any idea. It doesn't just belong to you. That's the power that humans have. The moment they stop owning the world, they're like, was it free? And when I say free, that means unconditional. That means God is an unconditional being. It can do unconditional things. This being created through the theological lens, created beings by commanding them into existence, commanded the human creation into existence, the human soul, and imbued it with the nature or soul of itself. Do you know? That means it in some sense gave it access to the system admin. Do you understand? That means humans, you can even see it in the marvelous, what's that painting called? The Creation of Adam painting. The Creation of Adam painting, where Adam is clueless but God, and their fingers are like right there. Like, that's a very profound, I don't know how to say it. if we attribute, so this is okay, going back to the title, this is legit the way I can kind of explain it. It's like I'm doing some basic things here. I'm saying, okay, we have cause, we have effect, okay? We have original, which is on the same level, parallel to, on the same level as cause, and then we have the simulated as the effect. This is equivalent to then having the creator, and the created. You see what I'm saying? It's like the same relationship, okay? So now I'm saying if you look at it from the original and simulated state, do you understand? Where life is about how you're simulated in a specific condition for a certain range of time. The world is too big to know, and what's looking through your eyes too unknown to say, you know? And we've reached that point, and we're like, okay, what do we do now as a species, right? And what I've understood is that it's like, this is going to be very fascinating, but love is evolving, okay? Somebody pointed something about love recently in one of my lectures, and I was just thinking about it. I'm like, all right, let's see how love fits into the picture. And I would say it is the love to see the better that we put an effort to it. But I'm saying at the same time, if the game before realizing there was a system admin was like, okay, it's me and world, it's like there's myself, there's others, and there's the world. It's now realizing there is the system admin. That means I am not kidding you. Every day I wake up, I know I am I did not create this world. I don't even create what happens, and it's the system admin. It's legit the system moving. Like, have you noticed how fascinating it is that we don't have to think about the involuntary functions of the body? The body just automatically happens, and we just have an outside view of the body. Like, I don't understand why the body didn't evolve to access greater internal views of itself. Why the eyes, like, this might sound strange, but kind of absurdist a little, but why are the eyes just evolved externally? Why did the body, why did the sight not want to see it? I don't know, they're too complex. I can't do this. I'm reaching a territory where I got to do this on paper. Like, write it down on paper. It's too conceptually, it's beat. Okay, anyways. So the whole point of it is, I'm like, all this conditions, we're these conditional beings, and if death means the body that is where the conditions are kind of like centered to, do you know what I mean? Like, all conditions are kind of like connected to the self, right now it's like I'm an objective self. This idea of me talking to you is like this objective self and the objective subjective self are connected as one moment. So it's like you're not being like, okay, that's a biological body, and then a sound wave moving in air. It's like you don't compartmentalize. You're like, okay, that's somebody speaking. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't. So the whole point of it is, like, any moment we can see it sort of a separated view. It's like any moment you can see the cake sliced up in different ways, but the cake is one cake still. So anyways, where I'm going with this is, God is an unconditional being. God created unconditional being that went and God, like in Islamic theology, commands its creation to say the divine names. That means it and in front of all manifestation, and so we perform in heaven. Do you understand? That means our souls presented a quality, like it was like the system admin showed us to all manifestation, and all manifestation bowed except to a moderator. Now, that moderator, further along in this view, simulates itself, as a point being simulation, point simulates itself as a serpent and deceives this unconditional creation by this unconditional being. Therefore, meaning that the moment the original error or that view or that perspective whatever is seen, I shouldn't say whatever, but you know what I mean. It's like I'm trying to tell you, they forgot the original, they listened to a simulation, now all of us are inside of a simulation, and the task is to notice the original. And I think even if you're secular, you got to wonder about what about originality fascinates you? What about intelligence activating in the moment fascinates you to the degree that it can't be captured in just a conceptual analysis? Because the context is changing too. When the context changes, the meaning to all the concepts change. So I'm taking the concept of the world and I'm talking about it through different contexts, pretty much. Humanity is conditioned to just concept shift. Like we are all trained in concept shifting. You conceptualize. You don't understand the concept's value arises from the context. How you conceptualize is like how you've turned the certain range of your awareness to the environment as a concept related to your initial concept, right? And the whole point of it is they're like, yo man, why can't I be a thought right now? I'm like, because you have more than one. That's the reason. The thoughts that come and go. You go into deep sleep and you don't have thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, you know, is anybody like good or evil in deep sleep? No, in deep sleep there is legit no conscious waking state of activity, of psychological activity. Do you understand? Even in a dream state there's psychological activity, but in deep sleep there's nothing. And then we wake up in the conscious waking state. I like to say we log in, you know, from deep sleep we log into, again, this conscious waking server of reality. To me, how do I explain it? The whole point of the world was I thought it was about me, you know, and I realized, man, it's not about me. Me is just a part of the moment. Where is it all going? And right now, if you ask me, how do I look at the world? I'm not looking at a physical world anymore. I'm wondering about the divine command behind why that position is there. When you become position conscious in a game, you maintain your positioning, you become undefeatable in any game. And the whole point of, like, you have people like Miyamoto Musashi or Sun Tzu specifically, where he's like, win before you enter the battlefield. That means before you engage in a scenario, in your mind, find the victorious move. That means before me giving the talk, I know where I'm taking it. Like, it's, how do I say it? It's like I decide on a sort of value, and then it just arises. Start talking about it. So anyways, I believe if we have the original as the original state, we are right now the simulated state. We don't know how we're being simulated. There seems to be something strangely original about us, but I'm telling you, it's an original field of intelligence for all of us, right? That means we're with the moment we're in the presence of God. That's more important than how everything else is in our presence. This is why I realize, like, that when they say shirk in Islam, which means worshipping anything other than God, which is beyond any concept, you know. It's as if, like, Islamically, the world is a simulation, and it's through God's mercy what happens. That means it's God's mercy if your free will does the right thing. It's God's mercy. And the moment we realize the ego doesn't own the moment, there comes the freedom to look at the moment from so many ways. And now I understand the poet Rumi, you know, when he said, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there's a place. I will meet you there. And then the next passage goes, when the soul lies down on that grassland, the world is too full to talk about. What it means is, what is it full of? It's full of the divine command prior to every moment. That means I don't know, but God knows. God is watching all of us. God knows what's happening. I think what God is watching how aware we are that this world, the point of this world, the person will suffer until they realize what is it that's suffering? What is it that's actually here? Like if you ask me, I'm an unknown force. I find my body in my awareness of being. Do you understand? They're like, I find myself in a moment of being right now. When I wonder about what is within this moment of being, yes, my biological body, the environment, an edgeless world, all of this, right? But when I wonder about what is the value of an awareness where all the different values can be zoomed in and out of, and I realize that's where you realize, how do I tell you? I don't know how to say it. There's something divine about a surprise. One of the most beautiful things that has arose from the religious universe, and as I remember discovering, was they're like, if you want to give yourself something, you're limited to conditional power, which means imagination. You're limited to your imagination. But when an unconditional being wants to command the field, the divine field, when God wants to give you something, when God opens the door, you cannot doubt the door. You only can doubt the doors you open. That means all the enlightened spiritual people on planet Earth, it doesn't matter how high level they think they're enlightened, they are at God's mercy because they did not create this world room. You're all guests or travelers here. But the final meeting that should be truly in the presence of an system administrative original being. So I'm pretty much living a life where I'm like, man, my actions are either getting me closer to the original Earth, or I'm becoming more lost in the simulation. You know, my actions are either getting me closer to my original being, or I'm more simulated as a being. You know? Or even I think about it, it's not about just being an original self. It's about finding the original world. There's something so beautiful. Like in the same way I wonder about what the most advanced state of the human species is, it's the same thing of wondering about, you know, really how far it can all go. In the presence of the highest power, that means we just realize God is watching. That means game on. We're all in this live server, being the live stream of human history on Earth right now. You're all, you know, historic figures that are living. How fascinating. We are the living history right now. It's like the person's like, whoa, I'm not just existing on Earth. I'm existing in 2025, yo. You know? And imagine Einstein and New Year's Eve, like being like, guys, I know it's going to be New Year's Eve in a couple seconds, but we created time so everything doesn't happen at once. And they're like, shut the fuck up, Einstein. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got carried away there. You know, Einstein was a good man. You know, if you could, like, you know, wear different colored socks, don't own a comb, play the violin, drink, like the guy would drink, and then like figure out why the sky is blue, you know, and just write papers on, you know, time dilation, I guess. General relativity, super relativity. It's like the dude wrote 2 essays and scientists suddenly their souls had purpose, you know, it's fascinating. We're all in this world situation. We can't ignore it. Like, what I have in common with anyone is anything personal. It's how we're in the same situation. We're all in an temporary existential situation, wondering about what's the most efficient experiential mode or way to go about this. I think really if everybody, like what everybody wanted to hear was like, what would be the best way to go about living this life? And the answer is, it's rather than you thinking it's a specific way, it's more about what you notice out of reality. It depends on your awareness. You could look at this world and it could be dead to you. You could look at this world, it could be filled with life in ways you can't even comprehend. It's up to you to choose how advanced you are. But there was this Zen saying there, like, if you want to climb a mountain, start at the top, which means we start with the most advanced state we can fathom. The most advanced human state, at least as one human being I can fathom, is that this moment is just the presentation of manifestation now. What is actually moving, it is moving in the presence of a being that is beyond time, in the sense that for us, if time is an arrow, for this being, it is a circle. It is beyond form. You don't understand. God, like I'm as a Muslim, when I pray, God is legit. I feel like I'm in the presence of a being that cannot make mistakes, and I can't fathom that, and suddenly there's a shame in my soul of all the, like, what true advanced power was the original. You don't understand. It's not we were simple and we're becoming complex. It's not like we were unadvanced and we're becoming advanced. The original being was the most advancement of it all. That means the beginning was the absolute. Therefore, the interpretation is we are simulated in an absolute world. And that means they're like, yo, man, I don't know what the edge of the world is, but I do know that the simulated world is inside the original one. Which is another way of, in the same way the original being is inside the simulated, not inside, but is aware of everything in the simulated world. People think like it's just, to be Muslim just means that the system admin is unconditional. You make the system admin to anything inside the simulation, then you wouldn't know if the simulation is true or not, and you'd be, I don't know how to explain it to you, but go directly to the system admin. Like, you don't need mods. You don't need moderators. Go directly to the system admin. God knows the unseen. There's a divine administrative system. It's more about the species becoming responsible for not just its free will, but for becoming fascinated is how is everything beyond my free will moving. Like, the value of your life's meaning is how you can use that life's meaning to contrast from all the different ways that life can have meaning. That means depressed people are people who are looking at their weaknesses, but you got to use your weaknesses to your advantage. What does that mean? That means you got to wonder about, okay, like, I'm weak, so like, let's say that's a weakness. The person's like, I'm weak, so what is the value of looking at life from this angle? And you might suddenly realize, like, I don't know, whatever, like, the weakness could be anything, but it depends on, see, the whole point of it is, does the idea of you own the whole moment, or is the whole moment present in an unknown way, in a way that the moment, if it was created beyond the limits of its how it is created. That means God is not limited to the understanding of its creation. The moment we understand this, we're like, okay, so that means human knowledge is just a sectorization. It's just a certain attempt at giving meaning to a world beyond it. So for me, that's why I'm saying we're in the era of advanced communicators. We're in the era of the advanced humanity. We're in that moment in human history where You don't have to just wonder about if you've lived a good life or a bad life, but if you lived an advanced life, that means what was the most advanced version of you that you could fathom. And there's something that I developed when I share my lectures. I call it the advancement principle. So I discovered it hilariously when I was like making an omelet, and I was just searching on YouTube, and I saw this guy in Japan make this next level like omelet that was like, I don't know, like you could, the omelet opened, like the omelet had animation in it. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, that's a very advanced like way to make breakfast, right? And then I was like, and I looked at just myself, and I'm like, okay, I can't do that, but now I know it's possible. So I'm telling you, your most advanced self, you might not know it, but it's possible. It's possible that there's a very advanced view to every moment, and the quicker you unlock this, and I find that the advanced view is the realization of the system admin. We're not in the presence of like a soulless, just like, elemental realm. We are present in a world where we give it meaning, and it has meaning beyond us. And if this is understood, then the game becomes not what you can do or what just people can do. It becomes like, I don't know how to explain it. Imagine you one day, you woke up, you opened your front door, and the moment you stepped outside, you suddenly realized all the news everywhere, world peace, and you're like, what? How's this happening, right? And you realize everybody on Earth had decided to care for the most advanced state. The most advanced stage doesn't mean technological. It means becoming responsible for the edge of your awareness as a being. If you discover the edge of your awareness as edgeless, how can a conditional being be responsible for an infinitude of conditions? I think that's a really good question. I think that the moment there is the possibility of realizing that something more advanced, like the moment you discover there's a more advanced way that all of this can be, then you have to wonder about, if the most advanced state wasn't conditional, how can you desire something that is not even shaped? That means just to wonder about how many beings can even want to even care or conceive to be close to an original power of their realm. Like, I don't know. I think it's important to realize it's alive in ways that we may never understand. Our role as humanity is to just wonder about why we're seeing it, why the mind is living ahead of the body. Why can we see further, envision further? Like, why can I envision sky cities right now? And we don't even have flying cars yet. I predicted sky cities 600 years from now. I think I said this in the 2020s or something. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. To be honest, I think that we are returning to an unconditional state. I think that's what death means. I think if that unconditional state is simultaneously the system admin, it means it is a meeting. It means that, like, you're a node in the field right now with a body and a position, and if you comprehend the nature of this field, the node may not be here, but the field does. Where can the field go? The original presence of being is being. Said like how a kid born in '91 would say. Being's just being, bro. Like, man, this world is very fascinating. Do not be convinced that what's inside the box can define outside of the box, but wonder why what's inside the box looks the way it does. To me, I'm like, wow, God doesn't want us to see what's inside a black hole, but we can see like, we have MRI machines or something. You know what I mean? Like, we can see inside the human body in complex ways. Right? We can see the fascination of how the biological intelligence is designed in a way that's like, how much thought was put into this if a human had to build it, recreate it. So I guess what I'm saying is that the greatness present in this world is beyond the stories we've lived through. Wonder about the true nature of reality. Sorry guys, my phone fell. I'm sorry if that bothered anybody's ears. It's just gravity's fault, But I'll take the responsibility. I don't know. It's just, I've understood that, like, if anybody's like, hey man, what's the greatest like path? I'm like, just whatever fascinates you, a part of you cares to understand, cares for. That means more than I want. Like, I don't know how to explain it more. Like, I'm at that age where, I should probably, get married. Like, I mean, I should have even gotten married younger, but I don't know I don't know what life would have been like then. All I could say is that for me, it's like a part of me is wondering, like, there has to be a fascination. The greatest fascination is how much is the person aligned to the true nature of reality. But what I mean is we're all starting in our ego code. Who can suddenly see their source code? Kind people, they're accessing the source code. Compassionate people are accessing the source code. Loving people are accessing the source code. Cruel people, they're either becoming they're trapped in ego code or artificial code. For me, I was like, man, I can't even know how advanced I am unless everybody's advanced and the world is the most advanced. And then I'm like, okay, how advanced am I? Like, that's the hilarity of the ego. The ego has to advance everything before it can know how truly advanced it can be. There's something about us that just goes further. No truer words were said, go forth. What else can we do? The moment is commanded into its next changing eventhood, It's brilliant, fascinating at the same time, in a world that's changing in different ways. What was here to change anyways? Are all conditional beings returning to the original state? They are returning into the original state, but before they even need to use the word return, they are in the presence of the original state of being. So you can wait until after this life to meet the system admin, or you can realize, at least the way I've kind of, like, for modern generations managed to conceive it, is the divine cognitive fields. Start from there. Wonder about the known and the unknown and how meaning is positioned in whatever game of life you're playing. And deep down, I know that people can be evil, cruel, ignorant, foolish. Even anybody can be like this. Even me, anyone, right? But at the same time, it's one of those basic things. This is how you know, like, you're a bit of an advanced soul, because you're like, the past didn't know better, and that's why its punishment was that it passed. Now is now, and then the future awaits. And it's like, to me, I'm like, okay, it's more not about like what specific thing I get in reality. It's more about how am I present in every moment of my being. What am I in the presence of really kind of defines that. To me, I'm not in the presence of just the world if God is present. You understand? God is legit the conceptual realization that all simulated concepts are associated to an individual concept. How do I explain it? God is beyond our understanding. Our greatest relationship with the higher power is realizing that if we truly, this is how I became religious. You truly trust that power, and if it's real for you, for me, it became real. In a way where they're like, is God a shape, presence, form, presence? I'll be like, guys, it's legit the ultimate value in human position. So the presence of God is equivalent to the original intelligence to the field, simulated field of me. You're there right now, we all are. In honor of the Almighty, and in honor of the Almighty's creation, Almighty's greatest creation, the greatest civilization, the most advanced civilization of humanity. The most advanced, like our civilizational advancement will be so advanced that you don't understand. You know, it would be as if like it would be felt in such ways. How can I tell you that behind our eyes, the future generations have in some sense even, it's all traveled. Like, I don't even have great grandchildren, but I could even fathom, like, them having great grandchildren. Do you understand what I mean? That means at some point, reality just, like, you started off in a dualistic place trying to identify as an individuality, but then you realize the edge of duality is infinity. Then you realize the edge of infinity is the unconditional, the zero. So from an unconditional state, an infinite state arose. From that infinite state, there arose a dualistic state. From that dualistic state, there came a singular, I guess, shift. And now that singularity is being rediscovered to be that the oneness of being. It depends on what level of reality you see it, because these are four corners. I call it 0, 1, 2, infinity. The ring of the absent heaven. It's something of, you could say it's more Mr.Within. I was sharing something I designed. And to me, reality, I was truly wondering about states of being. And I was like, okay, there's an original state. There's like a zero state. There's a singular state, dualistic state. And the moment you have duality, you have infinity. The issue is infinity takes you to the unfathomable. Zero is unfathomable. Only the singular and dualistic seem fathomable. So the infinite and the infinite and the void are unfathomable sectors of reality. They're unobservable. The observable aspects are duality and singularity. This is why uniting the species is the most important external event. The most important internal event is the realization of the advanced civilization. I don't know, you don't understand how important it is. If every day of your life you've felt like there's something missing from your life, let me tell you, aside from like God being the first answer, the second answer would be it's that feeling of honor for the world you're in. In the future, they will be born, not even, like, do you understand? Everything is in the grid for the vision of the advancement of all of it. It's like they're like, what did you do in your life? They're like, I entered a world and I entered a system, I updated it and I left. What else can I say? That is the true advancement of humanity. Responsibility levels going beyond nationalities. What internationality meant was the unification of a species, and then it's a species against the cosmos, not a scattered species because they identify with chunks of land. The moment they make sky cities, you think there's gonna like be nations like that? Nationalism is gonna be like I mean, sky cities will come way after the species unity day, but there will come that unification moment of the species. This unification moment is not we all look the same or agree or do the same thing. This unification moment is the realization that in this world of values that we have opened our eyes, the ultimate value is unconditional. So it seems like a looping condition is like the lower levels, and an unconditional, not able to even fathom, new moment is like, how do I explain it? Like they're like, yo man, is this guy giving a lecture on the beyond? And they're like, okay, I guess he can, point to it, which I have. All right, guys, there's some chat activity. Let's figure this out. Somebody says, I'd like to return to that eternal flame where motion, activity, search the light, a phoenix close by to rescue and drag me out of the flames. How could a memory be if it's not? Where's time now? Someone in the chat section says, where's the grandfather that danced and smoked out of the darkness to draw the line for lines to begin? Okay, I don't know. This is poetry beyond me. See that in that same way, you said I'd like to return to that eternal flame where motion, activity, search the light. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, there are these views where they're like, evolution began from like a cell's response to light. It's as if like, an evolutionary biologist's grandchild comes and says like, hey, where did eyes come from? And the grandfather's like, I don't know, from under the sea, The evolutionary biologist is like singing the SpongeBob, like it's like, that's fucking scientifically accurate, Life began under the sea. Then it was like, is there land out here? Like we could have land here. Like imagine that first fish that was like suddenly noticed like beyond the surface. It's like, guys, I'm telling you, there's something else. Everybody's like, nah, man, you crazy. It's just the ocean, bro. And the guy's like, nah, man, there's something else. I'm telling you, at the edge of consciousness, at the edge of oceanic consciousness, there's land consciousness. Man, I don't know, guys. This world is very fascinating. I'm telling you that that unconditional state is a state to be revered to. Think of it this way, that if you see a Muslim pray 5 times a day, 5 times throughout the day, they're pausing the simulation of a changing world, and they are in the presence of the original being, original moment. That's a good way of saying God is like the original moment of being. Everything else is divine will. Us being able to notice we have free will, it's happening in divine will. Therefore, we are as divine as any movement in a world is at all. You understand it? It's fascinating. It's happening. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds, and the Lord of the worlds is beyond all worlds of its creation. Thank you for listening.